Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Eliza Sarobhasa, the Leadership Fellow for Unicode Python, and I'm really excited to speak with Martina Mickos today. Her pronouns are she and her. And brief introduction, Martina is currently an architect at Workday, where her professional career started as an intern in 2011. She studied informatics and competed in track and field at the University of California, Irvine. And she's a lover of all animals, especially bunnies. Within her team's focus on the design and implementation of enterprise applications, Martina's primary areas are scale and data. So, Martina, hello. Say
Hi.
hi to our audience.
Hello. Great to be here.
So we'll start off with our first set of questions about your career journey. So, how did you choose this path, and when did you know you wanted to go into tech?
Honestly, I don't think I really knew what being an engineer, being working in tech was like until I had my internship at Workday. But going all the way back, choosing computer science, I sort of like a practical choice. Um, I feel like when you're, in high school, you're 17, 18, you don't really know what kind of career paths are out there, especially when you see the list of majors when you're applying to college. And CS was kind of aligned with I like math and science in school. I didn't really want to be a doctor. I actually also liked my photography class and language like French growing up. So I think they all kind of it seemed like a good place to go. And then at UC Irvine, they have like a large variety of computer science majors, and I actually picked a pretty interdisciplinary one. So it's not just like theory and computer science and algorithms. It's human computer interaction, software design, technical writing, automation, and quality assurance. So like I got to see a lot of that, which was really fun, and really the creative process of crafting software. So that's kind of how it led me to Workday and wanting to really be go into engineering as a full time job.
Right. I think like some of our listeners like can relate. Like when you start, it's like kind of don't know where you're going, but you know where your interests are, finding out where that aligns. And it's like
Yeah.
with now like today's environment, it's like there's so many new or different jobs changing. So it's like always something like to be keep interesting and be flexible about. Okay. So I'll just hop to our next question. What has been your journey like at Workday?
Well, in college, I was applying to any and every internship I could find. Which companies sounded, which ones I knew about, but also I heard about Workday and the great culture and leadership. And on top of that, it was already some small talk of IPO, and being in a pre-IPO company is always interesting. So they were happy to take me. I think I was in the first group of interns in the application development area. So they had interns before, but not in a formal capacity. And I went into the team not really knowing what HCM and enterprise software is all about, but I know it was a lot of fun. I had a group of other interns who someone still Workday with me, and they're still friends. So it was a really great experience there, and I was lucky to get an offer to come back after graduation, which actually I took. So going into senior year of college, I already knew I had a job, which was the different. I think a lot of people end up interviewing throughout the year, but I felt pretty comfortable having that. And then I came back a year later, which is kind of weird because you things change a lot too. Workday is a growing company, so even though things were the same and I had already had a little experience, I ended up joining a slightly different team. So it was a new functional area, and Workday actually uses a proprietary programming language. So you spend, at least in the application development area, you spend about 5 weeks, I think, on this boot camp where you learn it because that's what you majorly use. So that was part of it too. And then, yeah, I was there for a few years. I've been at Workday for 10 years, so it's kind of I've had a lot of different teams that I've been going to. So after that, my first team, 4 years in, I kind of wanted to dive into the other parts of the Workday stack. So really, like, what is the transactional system that we have that powers all our apps, and really more on the back end side than building, products that our customers use. So I had worked with this team before on some performance and scalability projects. So they were taking me with open arms a little bit, happy to transition me because, well, one, they already knew me, and two, they were willing to. So they mostly work in Java, and they were willing to, even though I hadn't used it for 4 years, they were willing to help me catch up again. So that was really great because for me, that was a learning opportunity. And for that team, I had all the application development experience. And they're a framework team building batch processing of data. So kind of like when payroll, if you're a large company of like, I don't know, 300,000 employees, to process all that payroll data takes a lot of time. So I really wanted to see like what they're about. And that was fun. So I had a great experience there. Learned new skills like Java. For me, it was a little intimidating because I hadn't used it for almost 4.5 years since college, and learning a language in school is not the same as using it in a professional setting. So I took I took that opportunity, and I think it was a great kind of career change or growth for me, which actually led me to my next team that I worked in, the analytics product. We actually acquired a company called Plot4. It's a data analytics solution. Because we acquired them, we were integrating their technology into the Workday stack. And my team asked if I would want to go over and help them because I knew how Workday works and this proprietary language, and kind of help out with integrating those people and seeing what their culture is about, and seeing how we can be a single company. So I spent a year with them, which was really fun. And then I went back to my original team, but I really wanted to go back to this analytics product. I thought it was really cool. They use Spark for the data processing, which is different. I hadn't had experience with that before. So there's another kind of area of expertise. I'm not a Spark expert at all, but just seeing how we use it, to build product was really cool. And I was there for a few years, kind of doing various kind of back-end things, but it was really on this data preparation and data processing side. So, you have multiple data sets and you blend them and you join them and, transform into some usable data that you can analyze or report on. So that's pretty heavy front end, but also a lot of back end. And I like coming back closer to that kind of product focus as opposed to just kind of a framework that other developers use. And that's kind of how it led me to my current role. They found me, 9 years into my career at Workday. So, yeah, I think that's everything and how I kind of managed to get through all the different places.
It really sounds like it's like the career path's like not linear. Even like when you were like having the internship was like a stepping stone. You weren't sure, but you're familiar with the company culture, and like obviously like internships are like a great like foot in the door stepping stone because like obviously they're green, like you're well, not really green, but green like a plant, like a junior. So like they're willing to teach you and learn a lot about things. And for you, it sounds like a lot of the projects and like roles you worked on at Workday, it's like, oh, would you be interested in this? Or you find it interesting and like you took initiative to like go and jump and learn.
And I think part of it is me being also vocally expressing like, hey, I might be interested in doing some other challenge. I'm not like trying to lead the team, but I'm also kind of like, hey, I think it's time to do something new. And all my managers have always been really supportive of either finding that role within the organization, or if I'm specifically interested, like going back to the analytics team, like that was kind of here, I directly want to go there. And they've always been supportive of that, which is really great. Yeah, I don't like, not getting bored, but kind of, when are you doing the same thing every day? Or do you feel challenged? If you don't, you probably should. If you're too comfortable, I think it's time to kind of expand and try something new.
Yeah, learn new things and like keeping your knowledge or toolbox sharp.
Exactly.
This is like really great to hear. So it's good if you just feel a little bit nervous or like at the beginning, like eventually like, you'll find like where you want to go, and then you can always like be flexible and pivot. But also I'm like impressed that you were able to like, like the Workday proprietary language like so well that like people are seeking you out like for help with like new project things. But I'll just jump into like that leads us to our next question. So for you, like for our audience, if they're not already familiar, like can you describe like what a technical architect does and what does your day to day look like?
Yeah, I think there's um, within different companies, like the roles and the job profiles sometimes, and even the responsibilities change a little bit between the titles. Like it might be like a senior principal engineer or maybe architect, and they might actually have the same responsibilities within a team, or even staff, sometimes staff engineer and tech lead. I don't know. The titles kind of don't necessarily always equate to the exact same kind of day to day, but within my current team, we're actually looking at how the Workday architecture as it currently is and how we what we need to do to move forward and bring it, into like a modern stack. Because really, I think we've had the same architecture for 15-ish years. So it's definitely time to reevaluate and come up with some new solutions there. And also, how are we building apps? Is that the right way to do it? Or like, where are the pain points that our developers have? What can we do to make it better? That's our primary focus. There's also some M&A due diligence work on the technical side. So if we're making any acquisition, our team is there to provide feedback and talk to those other companies. I have yet to do that, but I know that's part of our focus. And then we're also looking at how you develop your career as an engineer, and figuring out what are the resources we should make available. What are some programs we can have for our younger engineers? Because they really, I think, and we're probably not the only company that struggles with this, but like, how do you kind of make available, hey, there's a career as an architect, or there's a career as a manager? Like, how do you help figure those things out? Even architect versus just engineering, because at Workday now we have two tracks for individual contributors. You can go into architecture with more high level kind of system or uh, platform level, uh, or you can go into just the engineer where you're an expert in some area and you are equally, on the levels, but you are more focused on building certain things, or you might be some expert in some technology, and making sure everybody knows that and there's clear, here are some things you can do to explore. That's part of it too. But uh, I mean, day to day, I think in general, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of getting together with other people and collaborating on very complex problems and breaking them apart into small pieces and tackling one at a time. But we're definitely, like, as an architect, you are often the voice of your team, or and the technical direction of a team or organization, which is kind of a big responsibility. It's not like I don't know if I'm I'm the one who should be doing this, but I am. But yeah, you're doing a lot of making decisions, writing those decisions down, or even coming up with or not coming up with problems, but identifying problems and solutions, and obviously less coding, but there's definitely room for that too. It's not just you're just not doing the smaller kind of pieces. You figure out what should be done.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot of knowledge sharing and you're helping remove obstacles from team path. And you said like identifying problems, breaking them down, or just like pain points, then just addressing them so everyone can move forward. So that like your team or the other people can focus on the coding. You'll take care of the meetings for them
Sometimes, yes.
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This leads us into our next question. So, what technical skills do you think are important for your current role?
I think for me, having the Workday technical background, just the knowledge of different areas, has gotten me where I am. But and if you more generalize that, it's kind of pick an area that you're interested in and really focus on that, work on that, whether it be, I don't know, back end engineering or front end or mobile, or I don't know, language, like you love some, I don't know, whichever one is the new one, Rust or something. If you really focus on something, I think you have that skill set, that others will probably find useful, right? But that's more like eventually, like if you're just good at writing code, like that's not the only skill, right? You need to have like system or architecture skills, kind of design patterns, just general like how to be an engineering team or organization. I think it's really important. And then it becomes more focused on the non-technical skills too, because you are, well, one, you're collaborating with a lot of people, but you're also presenting your ideas or your group's ideas, taking feedback, having dialogue, being able to take that feedback or criticism, but also selling, like convincing others that, hey, this is the approach we should take, especially when it's a group of other architects, or maybe it's higher level leadership who are not technical, and you have to kind of convince them, like, hey, this is what we should be working on, or this is wrong, whatever the problem is. So those are kind of the skills on the non-technical side. I think always taking initiative to, like, if you see something, nobody else is going to do it unless you bring it up and you already kind of look into it. And I think that applies to any level, really. Like if you something seems broken and you have its little thing to make it better, like, and you have some time and it doesn't take away from your deliverables, I think doing those kinds of things also are great. And I think mentoring and kind of teaching is another kind of, you're not alone, and the more younger engineers are not going to learn unless you're working with them. So that focus is, I think, important too.
All right. So like you said, like kind of like teaching like what you've learned, so like you learn also more about it, and like I'm sure like yeah, like where this word sales, but like helping convincing people and like negotiations, right, for ideas. Yeah, and these are like great things like to know about. I know for speaking sales, people are not familiar with presenting. Like I think now in schools they do more like group presentations, but like Toastmasters, if like
Yeah, I think that one thing is like, yeah, making presentations is definitely a skill, and also just presenting what you've written. Like you can make a great slide deck, but if you can't convey it to others, yeah,
yeah, it takes practice, like looking in the mirror, right, and like
yeah.
speaking. I'm sure like you still do those like little like strategies too before like a meeting before a C-suite or a team you're not familiar with the night before. But
Or
now,
this interview.
yeah, yeah. But it's the skill, right? It's like it needs to build it, be good
Mhm.
at it. Okay. So I'll just moving on to our next question about Workday. So like you tell us about Workday and how it's changed since you started working there.
Yeah, 10 years is definitely a long time. Also opportunity for a lot of growth, which I've been lucky to see because I've been here sadly that long. Not sadly, but others might think it's a long time. Um, Obviously more customers and employees, like we've grown in both those directions. The requirements from customers are changing. We have more scalability not problems, but bigger customers with more employees or more data, just unique requirements now that it's 10 years since I joined. So, and things change. I think community involvement at Workday, I think, has gotten even more. So we were always, wanting to reach out to others, things like nonprofits and whatnot. But I think we've really expanded that in the last few years, which I think is great. Helping, close the opportunity gap, things like that. Supporting women in tech. I think that's been more, publicly kind of, or in the public. But I think the culture has stayed the same internally. Obviously, I'm here still 10 years later. I've been in different teams. I've had a great experience in all of them. And being able to have that kind of feeling like it's still a nice place to work 10 years later is, like, I think a good testament to how Workday is a great place to work.
The event to keep you like there for 10 years must be like an awesome place to have such an awesome person. Like I'm really enjoying our chat. So all right. So another follow-up question is how has like Workday supported you as a leader?
Uh, I kind of mentioned this before, but my manager, people leaders, they've always been very supportive um, of personal growth in general. And it's, even though the team and the, whatever product we work on is probably one of the top focus, it's still also making sure that you're happy, and helping you find those other learning experiences, or maybe it's a rotation. I was able to do like a Scrum Master project management role for about 6 months because I was interested in management too, and that's kind of you do a lot of project management as a engineering manager. So those kinds of things have been great. I also think like getting the promotions is actually like one way indirectly that they're having the title goes a long way. Like if you get the architect title or the senior principal or whichever title it is, like one, you probably feel good about it's validation, but also others will see that. And even though it takes a long time to get those kind of bigger promotions, I think that's kind of, been part of it too.
Right, because we can only see like, oh, I got the title, do the roles, but like we don't know what like went on behind the scenes for like all the work you put involved in all the projects and like I don't know if you had to do all nighter, but like or maybe early mornings, like to get all the stuff done on time and like met your goals. So
Yeah.
yeah, like no, you can, and that's also a thing. I know it wasn't one of our questions, but it's like yeah, imposter syndrome. It's like I think a lot of women in tech have, and I'm glad you're able to like work through to like get to where you are now in your role. And another follow-up question I had for you was like I've heard Workday, it has you mentioned obviously quite a few times, has a really great workplace culture, like diversity, inclusion. Could you maybe describe some of their initiatives to support their employees?
Yeah. We have a lot of belonging councils or groups. It depends on where you are, what we call them. I think that's a great place to, meet people, and they're very active. And that's just internally, right? Like that's finding, different groups and learn. And you learn a lot from the events they all put on. And so you find probably the one that you feel like you belong to, but they're open to everybody, right? Which I think is great. And they put on a lot of speaker series or even like internal or external speakers. So I think that's a good one. But then it's also like during the COVID got Thank You Fridays in 2020, 2021. So it was like 5-ish days every few Fridays would get it off just because it was a tough time, and making those small changes as needed, I think is one of those ways. On a similar note, we get time off to volunteer. I don't think it's 2 days or 3 days a year. It's not that much maybe, but it's still like where you can take that time from work to join some volunteering effort. Yeah, so on the benefit side, it's not just medical benefits or health insurance. It's also like a fitness reimbursement. You can join a gym. You can get an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, and also part of that is mental health benefits too, which I think is great that we're adding things almost every year, more things like that. Which things are changing, and the last 2.5 years have been kind of tough. So I think that's great. And then all that kind of outside of work outreach is part of it too, right? It's not necessarily directly I am benefiting from this, but I think as a company and as a culture, we have the opportunity on ramps or returnship programs where for people who have been out of their careers for a while, we have programs for that. Also recently did a partnership with Diversify by Design with San Francisco State University to bring underrepresented groups into design, because that's another area that has had less focus. So all of those things, I think, come back to Workday at some point, I think, because, it makes you feel good to help people, but also just helping the community and making a difference, I think, is part of that. It's not just internal.
Yeah, it sounds like Workday is like paying it forward, helping empowering people. And I guess like the other phrase you mentioned before, like the benefits, like it sounds like maybe like quality of life and like self-care, like outside workplace. Because obviously, like during pandemic, like a lot of people exhaustion, burned out, like staring at a Zoom screen or just like being on their feet all day. So I'm glad to hear like they can help people like be more healthy.
Yeah, and the flexibility of work is great too. So I think that's another part of that too. It's
Great to hear. So now we'll maybe go into a fun topic. Speaking of like your life outside of work, what are you passionate about outside of your job?
I already mentioned in my intro, I love bunnies. I have one. They're cute and fluffy, and help part of my de-stress outside of work. I'd love to rescue all of them. But I'm pretty. I love being outside and getting out on a hike or traveling, and part of that is just working out and doing yoga. I think that helps me manage my stress. And I have time to do all those things, and which I'm grateful for. And then I love cooking. I recently, for our wedding gift, we got a pizza oven, so we've been practicing making pizza, which is really fun, and it's really warm and hot because it's the fire. I don't know how hot it is, but it's really hot. But yeah, I think that's kind of I like just kind of relaxing, but in ways that I get to be active or do things with my friends. Because there's not that much time outside of work, really. I mean, there is, but I'm kind of trying to focus on the things that really bring me joy.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's like, yeah, bringing you like, not like the stuff at work, you're not bringing it like outside. You're like, oh, the bunny, just like you
Yeah.
focus 100% of your time on the bunny and like the fluffiness. Did you
Yes.
have a favorite breed or just like any
No,
fun
I think
bunny
they're all
facts?
they're all cute. Mine's really cute too, except when he sheds. But
Okay.
yeah, no, they're all really cute.
Yeah, I think I've seen some places like, they have like cat cafes and like maybe they might be have a bunny cafe
I
someday. That
think
would
in
be
Japan
fun.
they have a bunny cafe.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And like people who are like bunny owners or like, pet owners, like they'll meet up together. Like I seen that with corgis, like,
Oh
there's
yes,
like dog park full of corgi owners and so one's like all bunny owners.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so cute. Okay. And I'll just lead us to our last question. Do you have any advice or pro tips you'd like to pass on to other women to help them progress in this industry?
Um, yeah, I thought about this a little bit. There's a lot of things, tips and whatnot, but for me, what's helped me is one, be patient. It's sometimes tough, especially being a woman in tech or any kind of underrepresented group. Um, your promotion might not come immediately. Someone might tell you no, or you might feel very awkward being the only woman in a meeting of 10 people. Those things, but I think being patient and kind of believing that things will change and get better. Just in general, like I think that's kind of my tip. My other piece is like, be inquisitive and not just like learning, but if there's something that's interesting you, talk to your manager about it or your peer, to see if, especially if it's at work, like, if you could maybe learn more about that, or if there's an opportunity to maybe go try something else out. And part of that is like reaching out to people, making connections, and not just within work, but others too, because it's like for me, like at work, there might not be as many women in my role at my company, but especially in other ones, that definitely is. So I think kind of being open to making connections there too is gonna help you feel like you have a group or belong. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Don't try to be someone else. Like just be yourself and be okay with being yourself. Is another tip. Like you might not be like everybody else, but I don't. That's what makes you unique. So
Yeah, it sounds like like when like job shadowing, like being like you said, like being inquisitive, being curious, networking right outside of work, and relationship building with others. And like you said, like it sounds like throughout like your career, like you've been very proactive. Like you want to learn about this, so like you go and like find out, but you're also like pacing yourself. I was like patient, like something like working, like things are happening behind the scenes, but you're just like, you remember it's like, it's the effort you put into like trying to achieve that goal instead of just like something shiny appears the next day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Martina, just to wrap this up, if people want to, find you or contact you, where can they do that to reach out?
Definitely find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest place.
And Martina Mickos, so Mickos for the last name. Thank you so much, Martina, for joining us on this call. I really enjoyed listening to all your answer to the questions, just learning about like your knowledge. And also thank you to our audience for listening, and have a great day.